My wife wants to cut all contact with my parents. What should I do? My wife's parents and my parents do not get along whatsoever, and the way my parents reacted in response to their arguments was unacceptable. There were two separate instances in particular. 1. Our dads ended up in a physical altercation, which was clearly my dad's fault after having too much to drink. 2. We learned that my mom had been spreading a negative rumor about my wife's mom. The rumor in particular had actually been started by my wife's brother-in-law in regards to how my mother-in-law treated him and his wife, my wife's sister. Both of these happened over a year ago. At that point, my wife and I sat my parents down and told them that to either shape up or we were cutting them out of our lives. My dad at the time apologized for misunderstanding the situation. He says he thought my wife's dad was going to hit my mom. Again, he was drunk, and my mom feigned ignorance, said she thought the rumor was common knowledge since it came from my wife's brother-in-law, but apologized for spreading it and said she wouldn't spread rumors again. In the interim year, my wife and I agreed to have minimal contact with my family, only internally committing ourselves to family birthdays and holidays, and said we would discuss other interactions with them before committing. It is rather exhausting for me to continue to say no to my parents who seem to be attempting to mend the relationship, inviting us to dinner, sporting events, and more. My dad has cut down on his drinking, and there's been no issues with my mom in this time. However, we have turned them down dozens of times, generally coming up with a reasonable excuse so as to somewhat maintain cordiality with them. This week my parents again asked us to get dinner with them, saying they want to give us their old car because they bought a new one and no, we only have one. When I brought this up to my wife, she has now moved to the position that she has tried to move past the incidents from a year ago but can't and wants to cut things off completely with them. I would have understood this opinion more a year ago at the time of my parents' fuck ups, but we agreed to maintain somewhat of cordiality with them because they're my parents, and they have attempted to be better. I'm really unsure how to handle this request from my wife, as I would be sad to lose contact with my parents. How should I handle this situation? Comment. I believe the best compromise would be that you keep having the relationship with your family, and she can continue to have her distance with them. You shouldn't be obligated to stay away from your family because she hasn't gotten past her feelings. They're your parents, and as you said, they've improved their ways. She's also not obligated to forgive them. You clearly stood up for your wife and her family. That's a good thing. They've stopped their craziness. She should be okay with you continuing your relationship with your parents. I don't see why you have to choose between them. The situation as is now doesn't warrant it. I totally respect and understand that you want no contact with my parents. I will protect and advocate for that. But I cannot cut off my parents. I will not allow them to be here. I will not ask you to see them. I will not drag you into any drama they put me through. But they raised me, and I'm not ready to walk away from that. I hope you can understand. It doesn't mean you disagree. You have a different relationship with them and are more forgiving. Your wife should have been more honest either with them or herself. It's a bit twisted to ask them to shape up and cut them off when they actually start shaping up. The fact that they are making changes shows they care about you both and understand their mistakes. That is rare, frankly. You are allowed to see your parents without feeling like you are disrespecting your wife. It could be that she needs more time. The fact that they could so easily shape up would drive me insane and make me more angry because apparently they could do this the whole time but they didn't. And also they somehow knew that up would be forgiving and go along with them. If the bad things were because they couldn't easily change their personalities without, say, a bunch of counseling or something, then I maybe would understand. But the fact that it has an off switch and they knew how to act all along but chose not to, and instead apparently take advantage of Op's generous nature and just assume he would forgive them and continue to see them. That would drive me to go and see with them at least for a while. But while Op obviously can go spend time with them, I wouldn't force Op's wife Rue. It's not necessarily a disagreement. The injured parties were her family. It makes absolute sense that her protective instinct and therefore hurt would be much greater after the circumstances than yours. Likewise, you have a much greater incentive to want to maintain a relationship with your parents. She's lived a long time without knowing them. It's easier for her to revert back to that than for you to fully lose them. I don't think either of you are wrong for how you feel, and I think the differences in your feelings are totally understandable and explainable. It's harder to get over your own parents being assaulted and gossiped about than your partners, and it's much harder to cut off your own parents than your partners too. It doesn't need to be a disagreement so much as a compromise that respects the position you have both found yourselves in with regard to your own families and those of your partner. Other than not drink, have they gone to therapy? There is a fine line between reaching out and harassing. She has been traumatized by your parents for good reason. Now they are offering to give you things and causing more issues. A year is a while, but I would say before you commit to anything, you and your wife go to individual and couples therapy. After 3 to 4 months you can have a productive conversation with your therapist and then make a decision in a safe environment. For now, support your wife and limit contact until these issues are addressed by professionals. You want your parents to cause more issues with your relationship? It sounds like you don't get it still. Accepting a gift from toxic people who you're limited contact with is introducing a new variable. It's something they can and most likely will use to try to work their way back into more of your life. If they haven't accepted complete responsible for the situations they caused, then they haven't changed. Your dad assaulted someone because he was drunk. He's lucky he didn't get arrested. Your mom spread rumors she wanted to spread. Nobody made them do those things. They gave you a half-assed "I'm sorry but it's not my fault" non-apology. Did they apologize to the people they wronged or just you? None of what you've said shows real change. You are allowed to see your parents. She doesn't need to be present. If she has issues with that, she is the problem and needs therapy. You aren't asking her to do anything. This is for you. She needs to stop being selfish and trying to control you and keep you from your parents. People make mistakes. She doesn't have to forgive. That doesn't mean you can't forgive and move on. That is not her call. Go see your parents, they are trying. Next story 2. Karma got it back for me. My ex who cheated with my best friend is now destroyed. I just found out about this subreddit, so I finally have a place to tell the story that was the most terrible experience in my life and just recently turned into a blessing and an infinite spring of joy whenever I think about it. The downfall. I used to date this girl from when I was 19 until I was 21, and we were getting very serious. One day I found out someone had gifted her a rose, to which I thought nothing of, but she started having a more of a private life, hiding her phone, telling me not to say I love her so frequently, going out almost every night with girls and asking me not to come to the same club or restaurant. Well, one night I decided to pass by the bar she was at and saw her with another dude. This is how I ended our relationship and never spoke to her again. This left a huge mark on me and I was never able to love this hard another girl. Now we fast forward 4 years from the breakup, which comes to about 2 years back from today's time. This is where my group of 5 childhood best friends come into play. We are all the same age and know each other since we were 7. One day, a friend of this group messages a MILF nail artist from town who is 19 years older than us and has a 15-year-old daughter. The MILF's name immediately rings a bell in my head, as I remember she is the same nail artist my ex-GF used to go to every month. To keep it short, nail artist and my ex-GF have become very good friends throughout the years. My friend has the MILF hanging out in our group behind my back, and one time I don't get invited to a party where the MILFs plus one is my ex-GF. This is when I quit my friends group and lost all my friends. I am left alone and betrayed by the same people I grew up with, and we even worked together on the same business. So anyway, with my departure of the group, another one of my best friends decides to date my ex. This is how their friends group gets tangled like pig intestines. The culmination. And we now come to present time. During all those years, my mother stays a very good friend with the mother of the friend who started dating the MILF. This is how I got all my info on what happened further in their little shit group throughout this time. Turns out my friend got married to the MILF 6 months ago. He is 27 and she is 46. Needless to say, his father and mother are destroyed by his choice of wife, and they say they are ashamed to meet friends and relatives over this whole situation. His father, very rich, decided to gift them an apartment where they can live with the MILF's now 17-year-old daughter. The daughter turns out to be very unleashed, as she is having boyfriends over at their apartment very often. There was even a situation where my friend had to kick out a naked boy who was sleeping with his stepdaughter in his own bed. And this is where things get shockingly better. Remember my ex-GF who dated another one of my best friends? Well, they just got separated 11 days ago. The guy is currently in custody awaiting trial for sleeping with the MILF's 17-year-old daughter. I couldn't confirm the identity of the poor daughter since she is a minor, but I have gotten the initials, first 2 letters of the first and family name of my friend, so it is confirmed. From a story that I have had nightmares from for years and years, this has turned out to be the most karma bites back story I have had in my life. Comment. Man, you had some really toxic friends as a kid. I can't imagine 4 of them dropping you for an ex from 2 years prior. They really must have serious issues. I hope you're living a cleaner life now. Good of you to remove yourself from these groups. When otherwise good people hang out with shitty people, it wears them down eventually and recalibrates their sense of morality. You left and let them implode. You are the company you keep, and they've shown that in spades. Good for you. Up. You have made the day/month of everyone who has ever waited for karma to ring its bell of justice above the heads of those who have brought them grief and misfortune. My hat's off to you, and I encourage you to update us on any and all new developments. A story like this tells me, there is a God. Okay. I am failing to understand the karma on her part. She married a rich man whose daughter is unruly. The one she cheated on you with is in police custody. I'm sorry, but how do you with a straight face think that's karma for her? She got married to a wealthy man who can afford anything, and yes, his daughter has problems. Your old ex-best friend is in jail. His daughter will be in college soon. So, high up karma doesn't choose, it comes to all shitty people that deserve it. This time it was your former group of best friends' turn. Let me see if I understand correctly. Your ex-friend who called the MILF 2 years ago is the same one she married, right? Also, your ex-best friend who hooked up with your ex-girlfriend 2 years ago when you left that POS group, was he the one who slept with the MILF's daughter? Correct. And that's why he broke up with your ex-girlfriend 11 days ago, and he is also in custody awaiting trial for sleeping with a minor, who turns out to be the daughter of the MILF and stepdaughter of your ex-friend. Correct. What a shitty group of POS they are. You took the right decision of leaving them, and what happened to the other 2 ex-friends that was part of that group? By the way, you should say ex before saying friend or best friend, because that is what they are, apart from being traitors. Also, you did well to leave that group. Well up, now you know how karma feels when hits someone that deserves it.